Hello, everyone. I'd like to take a break from our regular scheduled program in order to deal with the events of the day. We all woke up this morning to wonderful news that the Israeli Defense Forces were successful in killing the leaders of organizations that are dedicated to destroy the Jewish people. And I was asked, how do we go ahead and relate to this? After all, it's wonderful news. Perhaps it's a blessing that we could say. And I'd like to answer in three different ways. Number one, you make the blessing of Hatov vehametiv. It's good for you and good for others when there's a personal benefit to you, which is shared by others. Say you buy a new car, you're going to drive in it as well as other members of the family. You make the bracha of Hatov vehametiv. If it's not a personal benefit to you, but rather it's some sort of a benefit to the Jewish people, but not personally for you, then there is no bracha that you make. Number two, ideologically, and to be more precise, educationally, the Jewish people has never, ever celebrated the fall of our enemies, but rather the fact that we are able to live in security. Therefore, if we take the example of a holiday in which we were supposed to be destroyed, the holiday of Purim, we don't celebrate the day that we were successful in battle against the enemies of the Jewish people, namely the 13th of Adar throughout Achashverosh's kingdom, and the 14th, together with the 13th, in Shushan, but rather we celebrate the day later, namely the 14th or the 15th, which is the day that we were able to, thank God, live in security without that terrible edict being relevant. From this perspective, everybody knows that at the end of Pesach, we do not say a full Hallel, and one of the reasons given is because we cannot say a full Hallel when God's creatures, who were dedicated to destroy us, the Egyptians, are drowning in the Sea of Reeds. What we do celebrate is the fact that we were free. From this perspective, I don't think it's appropriate to say a blessing on such an event. However, and this is my third note, it's very important to thank God for this event, to thank God that we have Israeli Defense Forces, something that our grandfathers, perhaps, or even great-grandparents, if you're younger, never had the ability and the privilege of having. Jewish defense forces dedicated to destroying anyone that lifts a hand against the Jewish people. And therefore, my advice is that sometime throughout this day, you take out the book of Tehillim, the book of Psalms. You open up to Psalm 100, Simon Kuf. It's Mizmor LaToda that we say every day in the morning into Pesukei de Zimra. If you ask yourself, what are we thankful for every day? The answer, I think, is very simple. It's not because God saved us from drowning in the sea, took us out of prison, or the other two things that you bring a Korban Toda for. But rather, it's all those many, many things that happen secretly that we don't even know about. Just like in the Tanakh, we have in Parshat Balak an entire attempt to curse the Jewish people without the Jewish people even knowing about it. Thank God, this is one of those very rare moments that we actually know how the Israeli Defense Forces, together with all the security of the Jewish people, actually work. They look for the leaders and they make sure that these leaders will not continue with their evil ways of destroying the Jewish people. And therefore, I think today it is very appropriate to say Mizmor LaToda, Hariyu Ladonai Kol Haaretz. It's a very short psalm, but it's a very substantial one. We stand up for it when we say it in the Pesukei de Zimra, and I think it would be very appropriate today. So to sum up, A, there's no blessing on something that's not a personal benefit to you. B, we don't celebrate the fall of our enemies. We celebrate the fact that we can live in security, which leads to C. This will definitely contribute to us living in security. And therefore, please don't go through this day without thanking God that, thank God, we have Israeli Defense Forces dedicated to the security of the Jewish people.